What up, gamers? You're now in tune to another episode of Winds of the Far East. I'm the East Wind, and today's episode revolves around game politics. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, game politics is not fun to talk about, but we definitely, as gamers, need to have a discussion about these type of things. You know what I'm saying? We can't just have like a quick summary of this. And just to note, if an episode is in any of the categories you see for Winds of the Far East, it's gonna run about, 20-30 minutes. I try to keep it like a TV episode or something. The whole goal over here is to be informative as much as possible. So a topic like this, I want to break it down so we really understand what it actually is. And again, game politics is not a fun thing to talk about, but we need to, as gamers, we need to talk about it. The things that affect us as gamers. And for the most part, I'm keeping it real. For the most part, game politics is gonna be negative. I can't think of any game politic issue that would be positive, off the top of my head. Before we jump into this fully, let me go ahead and make this statement. Because of what I just said, I don't want to take up too much of your time. You know what I'm saying? So if you're pressed for time, I always make this statement. You can just skip to the solution for this. But if you do have some time or you're doing something else, just listen to what's being said. Because again, we need to talk about these game politic issues that affect us as gamers. Back to what I was saying. As far as time goes for this episode, I'm going to try to do this in about 20-25 minutes. You know what I'm saying? If I go to 30 minutes, it is what it is. But that is, 30 minutes or it spill over a little bit, 30-35 minutes, something like that. It's because I want to, like I said, break this whole topic down to the point where there's no questions left. Everything is crystal clear. But, if I can't do that, like I said, it's always going to be a table of contents or all the talking points, and you can just skip to whatever it is that you want to focus on. So with that being said, I don't want to see no comments. If you comment like, yeah, it's too long, because I've seen this for other videos pertaining to this, with the solutions that don't work. Somebody will say like, yo, this video is too long, you could have just did this in about a minute or something like that. And this is why I'm telling you this from the start. Don't put no comment like that. When I'm telling you, if all you're here for is the solution to this problem, just go to that with the timestamps. Don't sit here and wait like, oh, I listened to this for about 5 minutes and it's like, yo, you can save yourself the trouble. Like I said, if I see a comment like that, I'm gonna laugh at it. This is a serious issue. As crazy as that sounds, this is serious. With that being said, let's jump into what this topic is about. Basically, is what the title is. The PS4 Auto Updates are anti-gamer, meaning they go against us. Like, we should be in control of what games get updates and what games don't get updates. But it doesn't work like that. So, with that being said, some of you right now, if you haven't experienced this issue, are probably like, what are we talking about? So this is what we're talking about. Right now on your screen, you see the setting screen for automatic downloads. The third option for the automatic download setting specifically states that if you uncheck this box, your console will not download updates automatically. And that's how it should work. But instead it is the opposite. So basically, These auto updates are forced updates. PlayStation Zealots tried to explain this third option, the first part of it, where it says automatic downloads will download while the PS4 is on. And the Zealots tried to say that what it meant was when you turn your console on, the automatic download will start. And that's false. That's not what this means. What this means is if it's checked, no matter if your console is idle or you're playing a game, any game in your game catalog, if it has an update, it will automatically download to your console. If we uncheck this box, it's supposed to do the opposite. Meaning, if our console screen is idle or we're playing a game, no game update should download automatically. But that's not the case. It does it anyways, whether the box is checked or unchecked. And how I would imagine this works is, and I'm pretty sure it's extremely close, if it's not exactly what it is. The PlayStation Network scans our game catalogs. And then whatever games in our game catalog have updates, the PlayStation Network shoots the updates to our console without our permission. It doesn't ask us. And this is versus the PS3. Some ignorant quote gamers and or zealots or zombies, I'll get to those two terms in a minute, but they basically stated that the PS3 was the same as the PS4 in this regard, and that is false. The PS3 asked if you wanted to download the update for whatever game you were playing. It never forcefully downloaded. Unless you had automatic updates on, then obviously the automatic updates downloaded automatically. But if you turned it off, the PS3 would always ask you, like, yeah, do you want this update? If you selected no, you never saw that update again. It would tell you in the future, if you want this update, go to the game and select check for update. The PS4 doesn't do that. Checking the box or unchecking the box makes no difference. Unchecking the box is just like if the box was checked. You know, you start seeing the same issues popping up in different spaces. Basically the same question is being asked. How do you turn off PS4 Auto Updates? If you search this topic on Google, I call the group of channels that pop up for this problem or issue, whatever you want to label it as, the usual suspects. All of those channels that pop up after you search, they're all recycling the same thing. It's almost like they're bots, like they're not even real people. One of the channels actually posted a comment on the channel when people started replying like, yeah, this doesn't work, like all the rest of the solutions that are suggested for this problem. The channel actually responded with the response of, I don't understand, I've never ran into this problem. You see what the channel stated, like they never ran into the issue. And it's like, okay, you never ran into the issue, why do you have a video about this issue then? That makes no sense. They're bots, or like somebody suggested, they're working for Sony. Because all of those channels, is almost like Sony trying to keep a positive spin on this negative issue. Because it is negative. There's nothing positive about this at all. Outside of those channels giving a fake solution, you'll have people on forums, or quote, what appear to be people, but I would say they're bots again, zealots, or zombies. And let me go ahead and clear that up right here. Zealots are basically people that are obsessed with either a brand, publisher, developer, game, franchise, whatever it is. And they don't question brands, publishers, or developers. In this case, it would be Zealots for PlayStation, Sony. Because they always ask, like, why don't you want the automatic update? And it's like, you can't be serious. There are two main reasons that we, as gamers, as PlayStation gamers, would not want automatic updates downloaded to our console. The first one should be obvious. It's data caps / hotspot for mobile users. They use hotspot to connect the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation Network. There's fees for going over these limits, right? And we might want to use that data for something else. That should be common sense. The second reason, you could say almost alongside it, like they could go hand in hand, is our hard drive space. You know, if a game is getting ready to come out and we want that game, we could be reserving that space on the hard drive for the game that's getting ready to come out. And we don't want the update. Ignorance is bliss. That adage is never true in this case. These zealots really believe, and zombies is basically people that have no will. In this case, quote, gamers that have no will. And they're the same as zealots. They never question the brand, the publisher, or the developer. Same thing for zealots. If a publisher tells them something, they always believe it. Those are what constitute as zealots and zombies. Zombies no will of their own. They follow the zealots. It's a horde. You know what I'm saying? So anytime you hear me use those terms, that's what I mean by zealots and zombies. So those are the two reasons, and it makes sense. Data caps revolve around monetary issues. We don't want to have to pay more than we should, you know, or more than we have to. But yet these auto updates could cause serious problems for PlayStation gamers that have data caps and hotspot limits. These zealots and zombies, they don't comprehend that. So they always ask, like, why don't you want the update? Why? Why do you have the game installed on your console if you don't want the updates? If the game has an offline and online component, and here's the truth about this, about these auto updates, the majority of them anyways. The majority of these auto updates revolve around online properties. And as you're seeing right now, Days Gone is a perfect example. So if a game has an offline single player mode and an online component, you can start the application. If you don't want to use network features, aka online features, you do not have to get this update. You can start the application without it. And this is a shot at all the zealots that try to state this is fact. Like, all auto updates are mandatory, like you have to have them. They're not optional. It's false. You do not have to have the update to play the game. It's dependent upon the developer. And stating that there are some petty developers out there. Because if you don't download the update, they've got it to where the update, if you don't have the update, you cannot play the game at all. Even if there is an offline single player component to it. A perfect example of this is Dying Light. If you don't have the update, even though you have the game installed, it will not let you play the game, like the offline single player portion of it. And for whatever reason, like the Dying Light install, it was hanging. So, you know, that's a thing. Even though the main game, as you can see right here, was completed, because I didn't get the update, I wasn't allowed to play it anymore. And also with these updates, if you look at the size of these updates, they are the size, and this is going back to space on the hard drive, but the updates are about the size of another game, or 2 games, or 3 games. It depends on how big the update size is. So obviously, you know, if we're not interested in that update taking up unnecessary space, as far as we're concerned, clearly we would not want the update. Again, if a game is getting ready to come out and we're like, yo, this amount of space is for that game, well, I gotta make sure I have enough space to install the game. It makes sense. So as far as update, patches, whatever you want to call them, that only revolve around a online component, they should be optional for gamers that only play the game in the offline segment. Like, there's no debate in this. It should be optional. If a gamer only plays the game offline, that specific game offline, and there is an update where it's telling you, like, yeah, network features, they should have the choice to say, no, I don't want this update. I only play it offline. But that's not the case. So in saying that, effectively, when we untick this box, and it's the equivalent of ticking the box, this whole setting right here, all these settings, or this third one specifically, it's an illusion. PlayStation has made it seem like that we are in control of whether or not our console gets automatic updates. It's an illusion. Because you unticking the box is basically like if the box was ticked. Either way, your console will constantly receive automatic updates without your permission. Basically against your will. Again, versus the PS3 where if you turn automatic updates off, they literally get turned off. The only time, see, and again, a Zealot stated like, the PS3 does the same thing. No, it doesn't. The only part they got right was, yeah, if you start a game that had recently got an update, you would be asked, do you want the latest update? In most cases though, like I said, you didn't have to get the update and you could still play the game without that update. The updates only really, like I said, the majority of them are for the online component of a game. Yes, some updates do patch glitches in the game and stuff like that. Speaking on patches, there was a patch for the 3 or PS3, if you don't know what I'm talking about, for Cold Steel 2, where it was a glitch with whatever chapter involves the train. I looked it up after the update was released to see what the update was for. And it basically was that for some Cold Steel 2 owners, the train was slowed down or whatever. And so I didn't have that problem. Like, my copy of Cold Steel 2 worked perfectly. Never ran into that issue whatsoever. So I chose not to get the update. I don't, what do I need it for if I don't have that problem? So the same can be said of patches as well as just updates for network features too. If you don't have the problem that an update patch is addressing, I don't really see the point in downloading the update. So to this day, I've never downloaded the Cold Steel 2 patch update. You know what I'm saying? As you're seeing right now. that compared to Cold Steel 4, where I actually did have a issue with the game, where on the island the game would slow down. So when the patch was released and I knew what it addressed, I got the patch. It was my choice because I wanted that issue fixed, and the patch did fix that. But in the end, it was my choice. I could have chose not to accept it, but because I actually had a problem versus part 2, it was the opposite for me. So that's a perfect example right there of whether or not you would choose to get a patch or not get a patch. The majority of updates are like this Days Gone update. It's an update for the network side of the game. With that being said, a logical gamer actually made a statement that we should have a class action lawsuit against Sony in regards to this issue right here. And I agree. Like, it's blatant. It's a blatant, it's just like in your face, a lie. It's a blatant lie. We cannot turn off auto updates, even though it's telling us that we can. Even if you go and look on PlayStation's official website, this is the crazy part about this. For automatic downloads, as you see on the screen, nowhere in here does it say to disable. It tells you at that 4th bullet point that the PS4 automatically downloads updates for games. So on the official PlayStation website, there is no information on how to disable the automatic downloads. And you know why that is? It's because there is no way to do it. So that means when we untick the box, it's still on. It's on their side. They would have to turn off automatic updates from their end because it's on. And you would think like all the patches, all the system firmware updates that the PS4 has had, and not once have they patched that in, it's telling. They've done it deliberately. The reality of this whole issue, from PlayStation themselves or Sony themselves pointing this out on their official website by saying the PS4 always automatically downloads game updates, proves, and this is another topic that I'm gonna cover, but this illusion about turning off the automatic updates, or the fact that it doesn't work, proves that, like Xbox, the PlayStation 4 was gonna be always online just like Xbox. The whole 24/7 thing. It is multiple aspects of the PS4 that prove it. This would be a main one. If we're keeping it real, which we are, yo, it's a smoking gun. The fact that it cannot be turned off. Another thing with this is, if an automatic download queues up on your console and you pause it and then disconnect your console from the internet, watch what happens to that download after you paused it and disconnect it. Give it some time. I say give it a couple hours. I would say that's sufficient. I believe it would activate or reactivate in a couple hours. If not, give it a full day. I mean, you ain't got nothing to lose by it, but make sure you don't hook your console back up to the internet. And some of you right now are probably saying, well, what are you talking about? You just said it'll reactivate. How's it gonna activate without being connected to the internet? And that's a good question. How would it activate or reactivate without being connected to the internet? It's another smoking gun. The download will actually resume even though your console is offline. How is that even possible? PCs don't even do that. Laptops don't do that. If you were to download something on a computer or a PC, pause it, and then disconnect it from the internet, or cut off the Wi-Fi to it, that download would not resume in any way, shape, or form. You might not even be able to resume the download when you reconnect. Yet, on the PS4, that download will automatically resume even though there's no internet connection. I remember the first time I saw that, I couldn't believe it. And to prove this, you'll see that I go and view the error for the download, and it says cannot connect to internet. And it was done purposely. Like, I did that on purpose to prove the point. The download magically resumes with no internet connection. It would be different if it was connected to the internet, but it's not. In these scenarios, it's not connected. So I just wanted to put that out there. Like I said, I'll go into more detail in a future episode. So with all that being said, the solutions. Let's talk about them real quick. The solutions that don't work. So the first one is a funny one. I actually tested it out. You can call it an experiment or whatever. But the first one is don't play the game for like a couple months, and the update for said game will disappear. Like, it won't pop back up no more. So I did this with Street Fighter V. And, you know, at first it did seem like that was gonna work, but it didn't. I'd say after maybe like a month or two, Street Fighter V update returned and popped back up. The same one. And so that's false. That's super false. That doesn't work. The second one is pause the update and it will stop the downloading. You're safe. Like, you ain't gotta worry about it. But that's also false, because even if you pause the update, you can pause the update, but at some point in time, it's gonna resume. It's when you least expect it. There's no way you can predict when it's gonna resume. It's just gonna resume out of the blue. You'll get the notification, and then, you know, or if you miss that notification, like if you're doing something and it resume, and then it pop up after it's done downloading, whatever size the update is, and you didn't want it, if you got data caps, you're paying more money than you have to with that. And then the whole pause and delete the update. And it's the same scenario as don't play the game for a couple months. You can pause and delete the update, but rest assured, that same update is gonna pop right back up. And this is not debatable. It's facts. You unchecking that box is basically us telling the PS4, no, we don't want automatic updates. But instead, the console, PlayStation Network, is not taking no for an answer. Like, we're telling it no, but it's like, it thinks we're saying yes. It's almost like a malfunction or something. Like, again, a deliberate malfunction, but a malfunction nonetheless. Like, we're saying no, but the console's interpreting it as yes. It's some people saying that their console is the opposite. They can't get their console to auto download whatsoever. And I'm like, yo, ain't no way. The general consensus question for this issue is what we're talking about right here. How to turn off auto updates for the PS4. I haven't seen nobody say like, yo, my console, a significant amount of PlayStation gamers saying auto update doesn't work on my console. It's been this issue that we're talking about right now. So again, they gotta be bots. show me a visual of your console not being able to auto download updates. I would love to see that. And then somebody actually tried to predict the times in which, if you deleted the update, when it would return. And it's like, yo, that's just crazy. It's not predictable. It's not. Because, and I'm dead serious with this, it's been a time I deleted an update, and that same update came back like an hour, 2 hours, a couple hours later. And I was like, yo, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I just deleted this a couple hours ago. And the reason that I was so, like, surprised by it was, usually when I delete an update, it didn't reappear till like the next day, or the day after that, or something like that. Not a couple hours after. That was just crazy to me. But after deleting it that second time, it didn't reappear probably until like, you know, a couple days after that, a day or two after that. You know what I'm saying? Kind of, I hate to say back to normal, but basically, yeah, because that's usually my scenario for auto updates. If I delete an update, it'll come back the next day or the day after that, or a couple days after that. So I kind of was relaxing about the update once I deleted it. Like, yeah, I ain't got to worry about it no more until probably tomorrow or the day after that. So with all that being said right there, before we get to the actual solution to this problem or to this issue, I just want to point out real quick, like I said in the beginning about the quote usual suspects, if you search the solution for this problem. You know what's crazy about this? Not a single one of those channels actually show the issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, for this video right here, I'm showing you the issue. I'm showing you what this is. Because that channel that stated like they've never ran into that problem, they don't understand, they've never had this problem, that speaks volumes about why they have videos about this on their channel. It's just to get views. Just to get views and keep a positive spin on this issue that is actually negative. But yeah, if you go look at as many of those videos as you can and see how they don't show the issue whatsoever. They don't show the console automatically downloading something that they haven't said yes to. That aside, let's go ahead and get to the solution, man. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all the logical gamers that question this and, you know, brought up like, yo, the gamers that were like, yeah, I don't believe there's no solution to this problem. I was just like this individual right here that stated this. The whole time I had been searching for an actual solution to this problem. For as long as this has been an issue, nobody has came up with a solution or posted a solution. Again, all those usual suspects, all of those solutions are lies. They don't work. It was somebody saying that if you uncheck report error or whatever the joint is, where if an error happened on your console and you report it, that if you uncheck that, that would stop automatic updates. And that's a lie. Just all lies. But right here today, this episode, I am here for everybody that has data caps or limits on a hotspot or a certain amount of hotspot, and for that logical gamer that stated like, I don't think there's ever going to be a solution to this. This is the actual solution to this problem. Now, aside from this, before I get to my solution, a lot have suggested that just disconnect the console from the internet. And obviously, that's a guaranteed solution. But is it reasonable for you to disconnect your console from the internet basically forever? Obviously, it's not. My solution is reasonable. And this is what the solution is. So, I just happened to stumble upon this by accident. You know what I'm saying? I wish I could say that I was actively looking for this solution and found it. But it's not true. So here's the solution. What you have to do is, you basically have to fill up your hard drive to the point where there is little to no space left. Now, I'm gonna emphasize this for you because some of you are probably like, yo, East Wind, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, what are you saying to us? I'm basically telling you that you have to make it to where your hard drive has little to no space for the automatic updates to install. So, for example, if an update for a game you have on your console is 10 gigabytes, like you see it. So, let me say this, man. Make note of the automatic updates coming to your console, like what their sizes are. And keep that note. Like, whether you put it in your phone in like Google Docs, or you put it on a tablet, on a notepad or something like that, make sure you keep tabs on the size of the updates. Basically, what I'm suggesting, or what I'm telling you is possible, is that you can block the updates. Like, you can set up a barrier to keep the updates from popping up on your console. So, like I was saying, if a game has an update for 10 gigabytes, you want to have less than that on your hard drive, but you had like 12 gigabytes left. And the game on your console, the update was for 10 gigabytes. That means that the update is going to come through to your console because you got 12 gigabytes free. So what I'm saying is, to block that update, or to put up the barrier, like I say, you would have to take your hard drive's space down to like, if you brought it down to like 4 to 5 gigabytes, you would never see that update again because you don't have 10 gigabytes for that update to install. It's not going to show up whatsoever. It's not going to pop up and say can't install because there's not enough space. It's not going to show up, period. Because there's not enough space for 10 gigabytes to invade your console. That's what you want to do. That's the solution. It's a reasonable one at that. And you can manipulate this. So this is what I suggest for this. Take your hard drive down to about a gigabyte or less. And in doing this, let me go ahead and say this. In doing this, I would do it with games that have for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because to each their own. I would do it with games that you play on a regular basis and they have a lot of replay value. I would install those games to fill up the hard drive space to virtually its capacity. So it's only about a gigabyte of space left. I would say a gig. If you can get it under that, even better. If you can get it to around a couple hundred megabytes, you're in the clear as far as automatic updates go. You will never see another automatic update ever. But you know, if a game gets if you have a gigabyte free and a game gets like a 300 megabyte, 400, 500 megabyte update, it'll creep through that. But if you bring your hard drive space down to a couple hundred megabytes, if you can get it down to maybe 200-300 megabytes, you're in the clear. Definitely. Because the majority of updates for games is gonna be in the gigabytes. You know what I'm saying? Like, that just is what it is. Again, they're about the size of a separate game on average. So if you can take it down that low with just megabytes left, guarantee you're never gonna see automatic updates again, ever. With that being said, you should be able to comprehend it now. you can basically manipulate this. So if, let's say, a game that is your favorite game or whatever gets an update that is 30, 40 gigabytes, right? And you set your hard drive like I just recommended. Whatever game you're using, or games plural that you're using to block automatic updates, just delete them. Delete them, get your update for whatever game it is that you play on a regular online or whatever, and then whatever space you have left over, find games that fit that. It's almost like you're creating your own puzzle, so to speak. So you delete the game or games that you were using to block the updates. You get the update for the game that you're playing, and then you gotta refill in the space that's available to put the barrier back up to block the updates. What you're seeing on screen right now is the way my external hard drive is in regards to this, because that's where the bulk of my games are at, and that's where updates have been going to on a regular basis. So now I've got my external hard drive down to 1 gigabyte, and all the games that I was getting automatic downloads for, they're gone. I haven't seen them in forever, and they can't come through because it's what I just said. Shout out to Xenoverse 2, because that's the game that allowed me to figure this out. I had only about 4 gigabytes of external hard drive space left, and an update for Xenoverse popped up, because I hadn't seen updates for a minute, and I'm like, yo, how is this popping up? And then I saw that it was 3 gigabytes. So I had 4 gigabytes free. That's how it popped up. Once I brought it down to 1 gigabyte, Xenoverse 2 update ain't popped back up since. So when I saw that, I knew 100% that this was the solution to this problem. It's crazy that we gotta take this backdoor route to do this, when it should be in the settings. And before I wrap this up, the forced auto updates are essentially an invasion of our privacy as gamers. It's something that is being done against our will, and it's something that's being done without our permission, especially if we've unchecked that box. It's not debatable. The PSN scanning our game catalog and then finding the games in our catalog that have updates and sending those updates without our permission is an invasion of our privacy as a gamer. Again, especially when we've unchecked the box. The fact that Sony has not patched in and actually turned on the ability to turn off the auto updates is disgusting. So once again, shout out to all the logical gamers, everybody that questioned this, everybody that brought it up, ignored the Zealots and Zombies regarding this, got at all the channels that put up them fake solutions. Shout out to all y'all, man. This solution is for y'all. So with all that being said, as always, thanks for listening. Peace.